Hey, this is Aaron Hansen with Intelligent Controls. In front of us here we have the top end of a Hatz diesel generator. This particular model is a 3000 watt, but it's the same for the 5000 watt units. And I thought today what we would do is just go through the valve adjustment because it wasn't super clear, which tools you needed or how to do it when we looked at it initially, and people have questions about it. So we thought, what's better than a video? So we have a couple different Allen wrenches, a feeler gauge that's 0.1 millimeters, and a 12 millimeter special wrench with a hole in it. So this and this are the two things that are actually a little bit hard to find at the auto parts store. So they're worth noting, and we'll have some links to where to buy them from in the comments. So first we're going to take off this valve cover. Hatz recommends that you look at this after 250 hours of runtime, mostly as like a break-in process. What you can see is this gasket here, and so after a certain amount of hours that can get a little crusty, just like any gasket. So making sure that looks good, making sure when you pull this off you're not getting a ton of dirt in there if the unit has been in the field. And you can see there's like a set screw, and then there's a outside nut, and so this is going to be how we do the adjustment. And it's a little funky, and we'll walk through that. But the first thing you have to do is you need to get the unit to top dead center. So we can spin the flywheel, and you can see the valves moving around. And when we get the thing to top dead center, which is going to be right about there, you'll notice that this guy is a little loosey-goosey. This guy's tight. This one's loose, and it's not moving anymore. So it's at kind of its maximum. We'll take our feeler gauge, and we're just kind of going in between there. Oh, I can get it in there. So that actually, I've already adjusted this. This looks pretty tight and pretty good. And so there's an intake valve and a exhaust valve. But let's adjust it anyways. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen the set screw. And so what's interesting is when you loosen the set screw, the entire thing kind of loosens up. When you tighten the set screw, well, you can see how things kind of move together. So the proper way to do it is you loosen this guy, boom, you snug, and you kind of see, I don't know if you can feel with me, like it just gets tighter as we snug this guy down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tighten up the set screw. That feels pretty good. And it's a little bit tricky because as you tighten up one, you also are tightening the whole thing. So like that's too tight. So I'm just going to back off a tiny bit, and I feel like that's pretty good. So it's a combination of tightening and loosening with both of these tools, and that's why this pass-through is really nice. You could use a ratchet or something, but it's really obnoxious. You don't really get the feel. So like that's too tight. You want it just to kind of barely make contact. So yeah, see that's way too loose. And I've had generators come back that are like this loose, and they just run poorly. So what we want to do is just make sure, you can see, but the trick is to get it to the point where it's making good contact, and then be able to tighten everything up without it getting too tight. So that feels pretty good to me. So we'll call that a day. The overall idea is that there's a break-in period with these generators where things have a chance to expand and stretch when they're running. So after about 250 hours, this will either be good or bad, and most of the time it doesn't need to be adjusted. But long term, if the generator starts running improperly, or you feel like there's something just off with how it's running, adjusting the valves is probably the first thing to look at. The Hatz generator is a pretty simple piece of equipment in a whole lot of ways. That's one of the things that we really like about it. This is really the only service intervention other than changing the oil and checking your air filter. And so when you're thinking about your enclosure and how to design that, making sure that you have access to the top of the engine long term is going to save you a fair amount of time. For more information about this generator, you can reach out to us on the website, and have a great day.